Dude, we don't have a safety dance AMV. Get over it.
Well, it's because of Nishi Joe, but here we are live. Thank you for joining us on OreAni summer, or the end of the summer 2018.
Yeah, it's not exactly just beginning or anything.
So, thank you for joining us. We got a small little group with us, the guy that watches everything, the guy that watches half of everything,
Hmm.
and then,
And the guy who plays, reads the novels and manga instead of watching it.
yeah, the guy who watches the shows up to the last episode but never finishes it.
No, you don't. Don't give yourself that much credit.
All right, so let's see here. With us today, we got Nick.
Sorry, muted.
We have Sean.
I'm not muted, but I should be. I have only seen half of like three things.
I was trying to
I,
crack open a soda and I didn't want to put that across the mic. So.
Well, Sean, if you add that all together, that's one series, right?
it's true. It's one very disjointed series.
And
You usually have a lot of insightful questions you can ask though.
then you have me live for the first time this year. I don't know.
Is
I've been
anime
live
dead? That's
before.
my first question.
Not
Is
to
it
me,
dead?
not to many people.
It's dying for some, but still got a little bit of a heartbeat. Like this title, yay! Oh, maybe. What's this show called again? Yuridagi Soul. Oh, whoa! Who changed this text? I can't read it. No, Yuma-san. Yeah, Yuridagi Soul no Yuma-san. Okay. So, yeah, I think the original content is the manga, and I've read a lot of it. It's actually pretty long, around 80 chapters, I swear. I don't know actually how many there are.
Is
But
this the sequel to Mogu Mogu Yuna-chan?
no, no, no,
Is this Yuna-chan grew up, now she's Yuna-san?
no. So, if you liked How Not to Summon a Demon Lord for the plot,
Who doesn't?
you might enjoy this show. Um, it's a very shonen, uh, somewhat shunbai, but maybe it is shonen. Marked up there, I haven't checked, but it's also very etchy. So
Yeah, I was like, what do ecchi shows count as? Seinen, shonen, their own vein.
I don't know.
Don't watch this, young man.
They're normally seinen, but sometimes shonen's getting weird lately.
yeah,
When you consider that Happy Sugar Life and what was that really bad one? Magical Girl Site from last season are both apparently shonen anime.
Dude, a coworker of mine randomly chimed in about checking out that thing, and they're like, "What the heck? Not Happy Sugar Life, but Magical Girl Site." And I was like, "Yeah, yeah, that was the shock show from last season,
that
pretty
shit's
much
not.
made to just talk about."
So uh, this one gentleman, just down on his luck, I would say, um, needs to find a very cheap apartment and ends up finding one at Yuragi Soul, which used to be a bathhouse. And he ends up finding a reasonable priced place to live. And lo and behold, it happens to have a ghost haunting that room. And that's why it was so cheap. But since he actually has high spiritual awareness and spiritual powers, he's actually able to see the full form of this ghost girl, which happens to be very uh, pleasing to the eyes. Um, while I guess others who have been in there before tend to see just like a haze or something scary. So since he sees it as a girl, he doesn't have too many problems with it. But I guess all of his life as a kid, he's been getting possessed by different ghosts or spirits he meets. And yeah, Sean's sharing us a little picture here.
Yeah, don't mind me.
And
I'm just making sure that this video recording gets taken down by YouTube later on.
Oh,
so
well, thanks.
So
So-
before then, enjoy the sweet low frame rate anime opening.
how do you say it? I guess one of the spirits that possessed him used to be an exorcist, so he ends up learning how to exorcise the ghost or monsters haven't passed on and everything like that. But the only way he can do it is by punching him with a fist. But since Yuna is a female ghost, you can't hit females, so you can't do anything to her. But he decided to take on the role to help her pass on, and so here starts his life living with Yuna and helping her try to pass on. And then, of course, you find out that not everyone in this building is also all that normal. You got this ninja girl that also fights demons. You got, I think she's a Zasuke Warashi that manages the whole place. And you have an Oni there, this girl that's also followed by like some kind of cat god. So you have all these unique people there that also know about Yuna. So
I don't know if she's like the house guardian spirit thing. I know like she's like a luck deity at the very least. I don't know if that's in addition to anything else of her, but I don't know. I can't remember if she's like what her deal is.
yeah. So um, it's just every day going on. Him meeting people at school once he starts his no school life. I think I can't remember what year he's in, but he's in high school. And him just all the craziness that just happens to lead to etchy moments. So, and eventually there are some conflicts that appear, which is why it becomes kind of shonen, where he fights other monsters or demons and just kind of like One Punch Man kind of way. He just punches them, and they're gone. But if you've seen the manga, you'll definitely like the anime. It's not that bad. It's not that um, far off from what I've read. Of course, I can't remember that far. If I wanted to see how well it matched the manga, I would have to start all over again. But I think they did skip some small little filler stuff or content, but other than that, it's not that bad of a show, I would say. If you like uh, light, the light beams and steam and everything for censoring, then you'll like this show too. So, Nick, what was your take on the show?
I mean, I watched it as like one of the many anime that I watch per season. It filled that void of the fan servicey, not quite full on action, but it was kind of there. This is kind of like a really common theme in amongst anime. Like one of the other ones that I could readily somewhat compare it to was the one that I liked a whole lot, The Invaders of the Rokujoma, which incidentally also had not a dorm, but like a cheap room that was like tiny that became like a hotspot that a bunch of people had to fight over. But that was that show. Yeah, I just the various antics that it came up with and the setting that it had. It's kind of like one of my reasons for watching anime. So I watched, and I think you did the synopsis pretty well. So there's not too much I can add there. Yeah, just the guy starts living in this house of people who have some kind of supernatural ability about them or origin, and it's kind of like life from there on. I do feel it was a little bit short for like setting up that many characters. I don't know if I would expect to see like a second season come from this one or not. I actually haven't checked out the very final episode. I'm almost there, so I don't know how I try to resolve things, so I can't comment on that at all. But yeah, I mean, again, if you kind of watch those shows, this is absolutely what it was, full throttle. There was a lot of scenes in which, you know, I guess Yuna-san is a cuddler when she sleeps, and as she cuddles with people, um, she ends up in very suggestive positions, and that's going to be hilarity for some people, and it is for me. There is that to be aware of. So Shonen Janayo.
So, like I said, it followed the manga pretty well into the very end because I noticed in the last episode, it seemed like everyone was coming back from summer vacation, and even that ninja girl, I can't remember what she said, mentioned something about seeing Kagarashi uh, during the summer break. So there's this whole arc that they actually skipped in the manga during that whole summer break, where they introduce even more character.
Oh,
And he ends up doing a lot of part-time jobs because he has a tough life. He doesn't have much money. I can't remember if his parents left him with a debt or something like that.
I think they would have to with as many skills as this guy has.
Yeah,
Like,
but that
how
was
do you just stay
also
broke?
that was also another very comedic thing that they did a lot was that whenever something happened, he would be able to overcome it because a ghost possessed him in his previous life, and to fulfill their needs, he ended up becoming a pro at whatever it was. So,
From
like he's
baking, cooking to playing ping pong to a
he's
bunch of
really good
different
at
stuff.
yeah. Like when he does cook, he's like, yeah, I was possessed by this one chef, and his regret was that he couldn't make this fabulous meal, so I would have to sit there and make this meal all the time until I became this pro chef, and he left me. So I do love those moments when he does just suddenly whip out this skill. He's like, yeah, yeah, I did this because of this. That happened in my life before. And it seems like to him, it was hard at that moment, but now that he thinks back on it, it's like, it wasn't so bad now that I have this. So Kagata, he's very positive, has a very positive outlook on a lot of things, which is what I like about this show. But he does tend to be somewhat of a kind of like your typical dense protagonist, I almost want to say. Like you could tell like some of the characters start having feelings for him, especially Oboro, who definitely is overbearing when it comes to him. But he's very, I gotta take care of myself. I don't have time for you girls. Sometimes it seems like. But his outlook on everything is very positive, and I like that. So, Sean, I'm surprised you missed this show. It seems like something you would watch all the time.
Yeah, I'm really into, whatever this is.
Yeah, aren't you like the Book of Friends? You love it because of the ghost, right? There's ghost in the show.
To be real, I totally fell off of that show because they made so much of it. And it felt like, at a certain point, it felt like I was watching like the same stories over and over.
It is. It does.
Natsume Yujin show, I mean.
Yeah. He's got a lot of names, and that book isn't getting thinner.
Yeah, that's what I'm worried about. It's just fucking an endless book. That's a good freeze frame.
Oh no. So, yeah, if you saw that freeze frame from Sean's thing and you like it, this is your show. Let's see, what should we talk about next? What else is there? We're kind of winging it. We don't have too much of a schedule today since we don't have too much of a group. Let's talk about Happy Sugar Life. I want to see what Sean has to say about this.
I don't
Happy
know.
Sugar Life.
I think I did a pretty good takedown of Happy Sugar Life, uh, in the like the hangout from like 3 months ago. I don't have much to add to it. Like I kept watching it and it kept getting worse, and they kept adding like more. I don't know, just like demented characters and what did I can't remember if they did any murdering or not. Maybe there was murdering in a backstory, but I don't know.
I could tell this is one you have watched.
Yeah, because I kind of tapered off from it. It's more
Yeah.
like at a certain point, I was just kind of skimming the episode to see if like anything really fucked up happens in it.
Um,
So and then I kind of stopped around episode 6 or 7. It's like okay,
yeah, I mean, this is one I was sure to finish because one of the things about it that kind of kept bringing me in is like it wasn't as cringy as something like Scum's Wish was, where you get really got to view the mentality of the characters because I think the mentalities here are a little bit contrived because well, not contrived, but you know, there's some messed up people in it, and
everyone's either a murderer or a
no,
sex offender or both.
not
I don't know.
everyone. Jesus, Sean. But I don't know. Like even in the opening, like if you were to watch kind of like the opening with the tones and the music and the way that the characters were kind of like expressed their downward spiral of like I don't know mental degeneration or whatever that was supposed to be, but um, I kind of liked it for that almost like a no, it wasn't like somber, but it like I liked it for its cynicalness, I guess. But because like you don't get a lot of that out of a lot of like you don't have it be that much of a theme throughout the whole anime. Like the whole anime was catered around to that. But
I mean, this had magical girl site levels of cynicism. Like there was no like normal ass character in the show, as far as I could see. Like everyone was super demented and had some like tragic backstory.
yeah, there was like I'd say I'd assess that there was like about one fairly normal person for the most part. I think one.
I remember like that dude who works at the family restaurant or something. It's like I hope this guy's normal, and they
Dude, if you watched it to the end,
found that
oh
like
my god.
poster, and he just flipped. Yeah, like, oh man.
No, like you probably never actually saw what's her name? Sorry. So many names I have to remember. Sato's aunt who's like her guardian. You never like skimmed over her, did you?
Uh, which one's Sato again? Is that the little girl?
The pink hair protagonist,
Oh,
older one.
yeah, I can't recall. I remember there being some like tragic backstories.
So like let me spoil this a little bit.
Go ahead.
Just to say, it was revealed in like towards episode 10, like in the really later half when a character was going over to her house that they get outside of her house, like she was taking her friend to her house was what was going on, and I'm like, oh, how's this gonna go, right? Like what's gonna go on with the whole like she has not like a girl kidnapped because she didn't really kidnap her, but like she's hiding this person that there's like wanted posters for because someone's looking for her. Like how are they going to do this? So she goes in front of the house, and it turns out, spoiler bit here, that she's living.
I'm spoiling it too in my own way.
She's living in by herself with Shio in the top floor of this apartment building, but like her aunt lives somewhere else, like on the third floor or something, and that's her address that she has listed, and that's where she was bringing her friend home the one time, and we kind of saw the weird personality that was her aunt. She's like someone who is like pupils dilated, wide-eyed, covered in like bandages, not like head to toe, but just has a lot of bandage wrap on various aspects of her. And it's like her personality to cater to other people, other people's physical needs more specifically, and she like really like there's officers actually standing outside of the apartment on that day, and when the officers had to deal with her, she was like throwing herself at the officer because like that's who she is, and it's like, oh, okay, like that was so weird to see in anime, but like she played a much bigger role towards the end when everything was like when the whole plot line was like going to hell and back.
Hmm.
Like she did something that I'm like, holy cow, I didn't like you kind of knew like there's a fire involved, right? Because that's what the first scene did. They're on top of the building, it's burning. Yeah, I did not see a lot of what the ending like was setting up coming, and it's not like in a what a twist kind of way. It's just like a what the demented kind of way.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's this anime. What the Demented.
Yeah. So I remember talking to Jessica about the show, and I think she was the other person that ended up watching it. And I actually wanted to watch it, but I have a hard time watching stuff on Amazon for some reason. I just totally forget it. I
Hmm.
don't even open the app.
Yeah, like
So,
it's weird. I have a hard time joining live hangouts. I don't know why, but I legitimately do. That's not sarcasm.
so
Um,
that's why I never went fully into it. Like I did want to watch it. I wanted to see how messed up it got because I like tragedy type
I
shows.
still would
Just
hold that site is crazier because like whereas this one doesn't like it kind of feels like it's a little more of like the Magic Girl site crossed with the goodness, what was that other like highly demented show? Oh, I forgot what it was called. Darn it, but that
Uh,
doesn't matter. Oh, Scum's Wish. There we go. It's like this show is like Magic Girl site meets Scum's Wish, and this is kind of what we present you, just without any magical girl stuff going on.
hmm.
I don't know. Because
Um,
when I watched Scum's Wish, everything in my body told me, "Don't watch this." But this show is the opposite. It's like, oh, you gotta
well,
watch this.
no, I just meant because like where Scum's Wish kind of like spent all of its time like inner monologuing, like it was the character's thought process was being voiced, and like the show was half like inner monologue slash or yeah monologue slash actual spoken dialogue. Um, this show did a lot of monologue, and it didn't delve into the budding personality that Scum's Wish did. You're kind of like being exposed to the already established demented personality is all. But that's just kind of what I meant. Like it kind of had that shock value that the Magic Girl site did, and it kind of had that like improperness of Scum's Wish, but like not as dialed up. But I
Uh,
still kind of like Sight better as while this show has its merit,
yeah.
Sight produced just something that you could talk a whole lot more about.
I mean, Side is more of action packed, I guess, because it's kind of a survival game type anime,
Yeah, yeah, and like
more
it
more
had
than
that
is any like
zaniness.
magical girl anime. But yeah, I don't have Scum's Wish as a reference point because I haven't seen it. So like this kind of struck me as magical girl site, but without the survival game aspect.
I got you.
The characters are like just as demented as you would get from a survival game anime, like Future Diary or whatever.
Oh, Sean, watch at least 3 episodes of Scum's Wish. I want to see your reaction.
Dude, I actually did enjoy the show. Like it's not quite um the the oh, what was that darn like HBO show? I'll think of it later.
Game of Thrones.
No, no, no. The like dang it, I have to look it up. Hang on. It was I called Scum's Wish that it just dealt with a lot of like trailer trashy people dialing it up to like the nine with like a lot of drugs and stuff.
Breaking Bad? I don't know.
Breaking Bad or something.
No, that was the crack cocaine stuff. Like, but like this was like a family. It was
Huh.
I'll have to recall it. I never watched it all the way through. I just caught a few episodes, but it was like that's like the closest thing to me to this Scum's Wish to that. But I don't even know how I'm going to try to like Google around for this title.
Just put HBO Scum's Wish.
Oh.
See what comes up. Yeah, Happy Sugar Life. About making cakes and a happy life.
I don't even know if it actually was HBO.
Yay, there's my computer doing its fun stuff. So, what's the next title I think we should talk about?
I don't know.
Just proceed in order if you would like.
Well, we did
Just talk
that.
about random things that we haven't seen.
We did
Backstreet
that.
Girls.
Grand Blue. Ooh, how about that?
What's that based on? Is it based on like a mobile game or something? Or
Grand
No,
Blue
manga.
manga.
no?
Yeah.
Oh, I must be thinking of like Grand Blue Fantasy or something. Or is
So
that what it
Grand
is?
Blue. Yay. It's a diving anime like
Oh.
Amachu.
Yeah,
franchise, but- No, actually, I don't know what this show's about. All I saw was them going to college, getting drunk, and being half naked all the time. Very little to do with diving, just a lot of getting drunk. I think I only watched half of this show. So, this was another one that was on Amazon Prime, and we ended up
So it
watching
is.
it with a friend. And they had quite a lot of gags that I really enjoyed, and it wasn't that bad of a show. If you were just looking for just some college humor, dumb humor, I should say. Oh yeah, thanks for showing that. Forgot about the half naked men all the time. Um, I found it hilarious. I don't know how far it goes or where it ends. But I think the manga's still being released, so I don't know if it got that far.
I'm reminded of Attack on Titan something.
Yeah, well, that's probably not like a good reason, like a good thing
So
to be reminded of.
if you like people getting chased by like muscular naked men, then have I got the anime?
Yeah, no. Bad Sean.
So what was it? Grand Blue's like the name of the building they're in, right? Something like that.
I think so. Actually, can't remember the name of the show, but
So
we'll go with
I
that.
think what was his name? Kohei? I can't remember all the names.
Well, that's what they called his one friend called him. Trying to recall. Too many shows. Too many.
So of course, he ends up attending this college, and he's going to live with his uncle and cousins at this place, and as he attends college, and he ends up meeting this the scuba group. I don't know what their
His
group is
name's
called.
Iori Kitahara.
Yori. Yeah, so he ends up meeting this group of men that do a lot of scuba diving, and he ends up joining them. But at first, he doesn't want to join because he can't swim. And he doesn't want to go in the water. But eventually, they kind of convince him. And there's also seems to be this like side thing going on with him and his cousin or something like that. But it's a lot of just random jokes, a lot of things going on there. I wonder if this is still being broadcast because my computer keeps on crashing. Video calls ended
We'll
because
see
we
it
lost
is live.
So is this just a slice of life comedy type thing, or do they actually go dive? It's not an activity based anime, right?
Actually do go diving, especially towards like at very random episodes. Do they actually focus on their premise? But they do diving and they do discuss it a little bit. But I'd say it's mostly like a slice of life comedy about this guy's like kind of messed up college life.
Okay.
So there's
Okay, so it's not an anime about diving in the
right, yeah, it's premise is that it is about that, and it's not that it totally ignores its topic. It does talk about it every once in a while. There are a few episodes about, oh, let's go get our license, and some messed up stuff happens a lot along the way, but the humor is pretty dialed up, and the moments that it does come up with are pretty funny.
Yeah, so I would say this is a show geared towards the older teens, maybe definitely a seinen, not a shonen. Yeah, but everyone has a strange quirk. Like the cousin there has a sister complex. You end up meeting this guy who's an otaku that wants a high school girlfriend in college or something. I don't know, something weird.
No, well, like I forget what is like he's totally sold into 2D, but actually what kind of grafts him to the group is like he was kind of dragged into the dive club by Kohei, who is Kitahara Iori. He'll call him either Kohei or his name, like randomly throughout the whole thing. But like he was like totally about to, yeah, I'm really not interested in diving. I'm GTFOing, and they're like, oh hey, like I forget how, but like it was somehow revealed that like one of his favorite ever like voice actresses that like did the series that he always wore the shirt, like the waifu shirt of, like actually went diving at the shack and like had a dive suit she left there. The guy was like, okay, I'm sold. This is my club now. It's like,
Yeah, and also sometimes I think it's really funny when they actually kind of connect on one common goal and just pick on someone else
well, yeah,
because they're
like
just so outrageous while everyone's saying
so like the
else.
two, the friendship between Kitahara and what's his other name? I remembered Kitahara's name. What is that? Oh no, he's Kohei Imamura. So I just remembered Kohei because that's what Iori would be calling him. I thought Iori was called that sometime, but anyway, um, it's best described as their best frenemies. So like while they'll constantly try to backstab each other, they will randomly like band together to collectively take something down to work in their favor. They're consistently best frenemies throughout the show. And it's kind of hilarious how they how that uh, dynamic relationship goes. Speaking of, there's actually another character called Azusa Hamaoka, who is she's like one of the slightly older college people in this diving circle, since it spans a couple at least two universities. Um, she, I guess, is revealed to be bi. And while the series doesn't capitalize on that too much, she mistakes Iori for also being bi due to the actions of like what was in episode 2 or 3, I believe. So throughout the whole thing, she's like secretly trying to push him and his best frenemy together because like she thinks that Iori is like bi for him. So like he has to deal with that too, or he's really not, but he doesn't want to tell her that because it's like one of the reasons she opened up to him right away. And he's like, well, I don't want to like ruin this. So it's kind of hilarious. Like there's just a lot of funny gags going all over the place in this show, and it does kind of talk about diving. And in like episode I think 10ish again, we actually seen there was an episode where they had to go to a dive shop to like buy diving suits and stuff. and they had a full-on like Evangelion reference diving suit there that the anime fan guy was just fangasming over. Like they were like, the plug suits of Rei and Asuka, and he was just like, I want to buy these, but they're so expensive. And his friend kind of cuts in like, oh yeah, those are a pretty cool style, but those are for girls, so like you can't get those. And he's like, no, yeah, I know, but it was a funny gag, but it was kind of really funny because although they were obviously getting at Evangelion, they like chose to blur out the suits with this like mosaic blur, so like anybody would recognize them just on the color tones alone. But it was just so hilarious that like we had this random reference in this episode, and I'm like, I wonder if that was in the manga, because I don't read the manga. Or like, was that something done just for the anime? Like, I can't tell if the manga called out Evangelion the same way, or like what was the decision to do this? Like, was that manga, or was that the end? Like, the director's like, we need something.
Yeah, so Grand Blue. It's a good comedy show, I think.
Because it's
I
like
would
this
definitely
was.
want to finish watching it. It's something that I would definitely want to watch all the way to the end. Let's go to the next title, shall we?
Sure.
Hey, can I ask, any of y'all watching Attack on Titan?
I am.
Oh, I finished season 2.
Good. We're only on like, I don't know, what is it, 3?
What is the current season?
It might be 3. Yeah, I think it's 3.
So I only saw the first couple episodes because I'm not really on the Titan train, but
Mm-hmm.
like I was pretty impressed by the animation anyway. Like it was
Yeah,
fun.
it was.
Pretty action packed.
Yeah, in the first few episodes, I remember that. I was like, well, I don't think we're going to get like too many action scenes for a while. I think this was the budget for a bit. But
is it holding up?
I mean, yes, I would say there is definitely a little more action laced throughout, especially towards the end. And it does a much better story about like telling, the story as is. Like the first season was kind of notoriously, I guess, slow with doing its setup. I forget what the sentiment of the second season was, but there's a lot of information being revealed somewhat quickly, and I can say that it's definitely one of the seasons that is more memorable through what's being revealed. Like they're starting to reveal like major plot points to the story, so it feels like I've heard people like talk from like reading the shows and whatnot, so I'm vaguely aware that the show's not gonna all just happen inside the walls, so to speak. That's where season 3 is going to be, make no mistake. But it's getting really close to resolving what they can do inside that city. So I think by the time we have like season 4 or something, it's going to start cracking into now that we've got this city thing, we tapped out all story potential here. Let's get on with our what's humanity left to do, because like they're really like starting to get a hold of things. So
yeah, I was talking to a friend of mine, and it sounded like the manga is at the point where they actually have a lot of the secrets revealed of like what exactly the Titans are, where they come from, why is the walled city, and blah blah blah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like that mystery was somewhat expanded upon. I wouldn't say it's finally answered at all. They just kind of expanded upon it in season 3. But it's getting to the point where, this is where many people will be picking their brains at coming up with explanations for stuff until it actually happens. Then,
So my biggest thing was, so I remember like in the beginning of season 1.
So I remember like season 1.
do what?
I'm sorry.
I think that was coming from your computer, like the streaming.
Yeah, it keeps on restarting the session and then it unmutes my microphone, so that's why I did that. Sorry. But the thing was, like, in season 1, it was all, we need to get to the basement of our house with this key. And it seems like all the way up until the end of season 2, all that was forgotten. Like, are they still trying to get to that basement? Do they ever get to that basement? That's my biggest peeve.
So I have any episodes of this one that I might have one or two I haven't watched so far, and I'm not sure if it's going to be continuing straight through or not. But it's kind of questionable to me if they really definitely need to get there at this point. I can honestly say that no, where I'm at in the story, that's not what they're necessarily immediately worried about. It's been revealed that I will at least spoil this much and say that Aaron has um, found out that like Titans have the ability to like do this weird hardening thing, and that's why they think that Titans made the walls kind of a thing, and that's why they're in the walls because they made the walls. So like at near the end of the season 2 to the early part of season 3, the gimmick was that we were to get Aaron to develop that ability, and he'll go and plug the hole in the wall, like in his Titan form, doing like the wall forming thing. And we know like what his potential is with that from now. And there was a big like revelation about like the secret of the basement that you can kind of see on Sean's screen at the moment if you notice him in little subtitle down there. But his I guess like his like straight up like as you can kind of guess, like he was kind of injected with a syringe at some point in the first or in the second episode, like in the season you kind of saw that. Like, yeah, people can get the ability to go into Titans, and what it was also that revealed, this is kind of interesting. I'll say, like, this isn't really a spoiling element, that while people can be made to go Titan, so like, what does that mean, like when we're experimenting on the masses kind of a thing, or like if that's the point of it or not. We kind of saw something like that happening in like season 2. It wasn't clear by who was doing it though. But I don't know what the Titans are, so like that's still going to be explained to me. Season 3 doesn't like say what they are, but when a person acquires the ability to go Titan, they I think, like, I can't tell if this is a plot hole or if they just haven't explained it that well, but most of them can like retain their sentiency, or only a few of them can. But it's like this exception where if you were to consume the individual who had the ability to like be a sentient Titan, that ability gets grafted to whatever, like all the powers, I guess, of the Titan that was eaten can get passed on to the other Titan doing the eating. So
yeah, a friend of mine actually gave me like the whole spoiler talk of like all the secrets of the Titan world.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I don't know them all.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't really care. Like,
I'm not going to dish them out on stream, but
it's okay.
I will say that it's pretty neat. You know,
Okay.
It's like it almost made me want to watch Attack on Titan, because it seems like they thought about the world a bit.
Yeah, I
came up with a pretty neat explanation for everything.
I didn't think it was going to be that well explained, watching season 1. And I remember at the time that like the guy was like stretching out the story. He was like, I need to like reinvent the ending because I don't think this will be an ending that's like deserved to the fans or whatever. And
yeah,
I know like the talk was like he was like stretching out because he's like the new popular show, but it's like, so I can't tell if we're hitting plot holes at this point, as I said, because we had to like readapt the ending, or if they weren't ever plot holes at all. I can't say, but there definitely does seem to be a lot more depth now than there was to the first season, which, I mean, but like since it was a slowly revealed mystery, that kind of makes sense. But at the same time, it's like, it's a lot more gratifying of a story than it was at first. I will admit that.
I also remember that like in the original, or the original season, everyone had like really thick black outlines, and and it just had like really bad art design. It seems like they got rid of that. Do you remember that, where the characters would have like thick black contours like around all of the drawings?
I thought it was mostly during the emotional moments where he was like yelling or
Do
they
they
were
still
trying to
do
get a
that?
bigger impact.
Nothing stood out to me, but I don't usually like check for animation quality as much as other people. Like I totally missed the scene where like what his mom pulled on his ear or whatever, and her ear stretched out too. Like that was kind of one of the infamous like bad scenes of season one. But...
I mean, I wasn't talking about like animation quality per se. It's more
Okay.
like art design.
Artistic design, yeah.
Like the art design changed, but whatever.
Gotcha.
All right, I'll probably watch it. Like that's actually why I finished watching season 2 because I never finished season 2, and I was like, oh, I should watch season 3, but I got to finish season 2, so I did that at least.
Even if you don't watch season 2, you should watch like the action scenes of the first couple episodes
Oh
of the new
gosh,
season
yes.
because it is like they are so amazing.
Yeah, they were quite well done.
Yeah, the 3D maneuver gear when they first introduced that, I think everyone just went crazy over that.
Yeah, like 3D Move Gear was cool at first, but and it still is. Don't get me wrong. I think they actually, I don't know if they like totally did an improved design that we didn't want to talk about because I think I remember one of the pitfalls of like the earlier gear because they never talked about this as like a series revision, but like it was always like whenever it was depicted was like a hip mounted like belt like grappling hook thing that fired, but what became immediately like prevalent in the third season that I kind of asked myself, was it always that way? Was like now the belt has like a rear firing grappling hook. So you can almost like you're not just restricted to shooting from the front hip. You can also like shoot it out the back hip too. And I was like, I remember that being a big design aspect. Like when like those not Coda, sorry, when they had the eye catch scenes for doing commercial breaks, like they would like always do the currently like disclosable information thing. Like they would kind of do like schematic design kind of like views of the gear, and it's like they never talked about that like rear firing grappling hook. So what's going on here? But
I don't know.
what was kind of interesting in what Sean was talking about, I know I talked about this in the first season, so I'll just lightly mention it again, is that the 3D move gear is some pretty insane stuff. If somebody went rogue with one, they can really wreck a lot upon the masses. So apparently the government who's the head honcho of everything decided, well, what if we have like a 3D, like a really skilled 3D movement gear user go rogue? What are we to do to save the people? So they developed an anti-personnel police force specifically meant to deal with people using 3D move gear. So it's not optimized to fight Titans, but personnel. That's who the scouts kind of have to do a lot of combat with this time around. Something that was designed to kill people, not Titans. But that's just my 2 cents on that.
Yeah, I don't know. I thought I don't know. I have some vague recollection of something about that in the first couple episodes of season 3.
Yeah.
About like these guys aren't hunting Titans, they're hunting people, or I don't know. It's such a vague memory at this point. But whatever. All right, time for a new font.
All right, let's go to the next title. Let's see
You the
what we
one
got.
changing the fonts.
I mean, we're not even using this spreadsheet anyway. It's just a list of names at this point.
Overlord 3.
The third.
The third. Yeah. Sorry. Overlord the third.
Probably not what it's called.
So,
do something
Sean, were you ever on the Overlord train, or?
I saw 7 episodes of the original, and I don't know. I thought it would be kind of different than the usual like isekai thing, but from what I saw, it just seemed like the usual isekai thing. But people kept sticking with it, and like Albert made an argument the other day saying that this isn't the usual isekai thing, but he didn't quite elaborate why it isn't. So,
Well, I don't know. It's not that because like I don't really staunchly stand against isekai shows. I do tend to like them, so I can't really make the argument about like for or against them. But like one of the things that I can at least say, like attest to it being a little bit different, is the fact that like in the second season we kind of had the first chunk of episodes we followed like this group of lizard people instead of like the main band of protagonists. So like there was a time or two where I wasn't even aware of what I was watching. Like if I paused, like say my phone threw up a notification and I hit my notification, I dealt with whatever I had to deal with, and I look back to the screen and goes, okay, what was I watching again? And I let it play through for a little bit. I'm like, wait, why am I watching these lizard people? Like what story was this from again? And like I just had a not like a super hard time, but like it wasn't an instant connection to Overlord. And I will say that season 3, it kind of gets the ball rolling because like the whole premise of the first like season was like, you know, we were whisked away to this not quite video like real world like video game that isn't even our MMO. We're just like physically in another world, like as my game self with my game stuff. You know,
yeah,
like
actually, that premise was the thing that kind of hooked me for so many episodes. Is that it was the dude's own world. It's like this, all these characters were made by like me and my guild mates, and they've come to life.
yeah,
Which I thought was a pretty neat angle. But like at this point, now that we're at like season 3, is any of that context like still relevant? Or is this basically just like a full on fantasy anime that has like
I can't elaborate at this time because I'm not exactly sure. And here's what I mean by that. Let me circle back to this point. I just want to finish saying
yeah, go ahead.
that in the first season, he was kind of like, it was like, you know, we must slowly research stuff. So he goes into the world around him and sets certain things in motion, you know, like because he needs to research stuff. And he's being really low key about it. In the second season, he's making bigger movements. And by the end of the third season, he's now, I guess, prepared to finally, you know, he's it's not that he's done messing around or anything. It was always like he was just kind of going with the flow of what he should be doing because like you kind of always kind of see that about him. Like whenever he reacted and personally got involved in a lot of the stuff with his character, like something kind of calmed down his emotions and, you know, kind of made him stick to his role kind of a thing instead of letting him get flustered. And I'm still not sure as to why that's happening. There's no explanation. He's noticing that he's even usually he's like, you know, whatever's taking its toll on my emotions, like whatever that magical thing is. I'm like so different now from what I used to be, but it's not like he's going like full Skeletor or anything. But kind of like he has to kind of come up with an explanation for why he wanted to do research. So like he has to come up with an explanation, and like his followers are always like, "Oh, it's the great plan of our great one," and he'll tell you what his next plan is. And they always have these meetings, and he's like, he kind of had to slowly like get to the point where it's like, okay, we're just doing world domination now because I don't know what to keep telling these guys. So season 3 is pretty much him starting his potential conquest of the world. You know, not like super forcibly, like he's not just like taking out everyone. He's like almost politically achieving it, as he usually kind of tried to do in season 2 as well, instead of just a sheer show of force. I mean, he will show force when he has to, but he's still trying to politically achieve stuff. I think that's his ultimate goal, it seems. And yeah. And as for why I can't really comment on, you know, he was kind of whisked away from his guildmates, and while he's always nostalgic for them, like because he kind of views himself as alone, there's this one random scene in episode 3 where like he was just chilling, like they had an outdoor spa, right? Like they had the separation between the guys and the girls, and there was this total outdoor spa that wherever they had in Nazarick set up to do that. And as they're all chilling there, all of a sudden, like, he hears one of his old guildmates' voices, like, and he can't tell why, but he was all like, oh, it's causing havoc on the girls' side. They probably don't have their armor or anything. Let's go help them. And that was like the final scene of that episode. And then like the next episode started up, and it totally didn't acknowledge that the previous one ended that way. And we have like no explanation for what actually happened there.
That was the first episode of season 3.
Yeah, but I mean, like, so like I guess that it was kind of like a weird threat that maybe it wasn't actually one of his guildmates, just a prank they sent in motion, and they dealt with the prank. But it was so weird that we had like no explanation of it, like none. Like it wasn't even like we didn't even get like the dialogue the next day about, well, we dealt with that. It was our friend's prank. Woohoo! We just know they were going to go fight him, and that's all we know. The rest of the show went on. Like, oh, okay.
You did remind me that of the episodes that I've seen, which, you know, again, is just season 1 through 7. There was that tension of like the longer I am the skeleton man, the more like my old self, my old persona is sort of vanishing, and I'm becoming my character.
Yeah.
Like, so that's still a thing.
Still a thing.
Okay.
Not as much of a thing. He doesn't comment about it as much, but you know, it was talked about once or twice so far in season 3.
Yeah, because he's noticed the change, like
Mm-hmm.
more and more. Like as people are dying, he realizes, you know, still like I still don't care about humans dying, but he has a strong affection for the guild, eyes on goal, right? So it seems like everything he's doing now is just to raise the name of the guild that he's in and make them known throughout the world. Because it kind of seemed like at the beginning, he was just trying to see if there was anyone else out there in the world that was from the same game, but now that he isn't, he's just going to spread the name so much that everyone knows that this guild is the best and it's one of the top tier things.
Huh.
And a lot of it, I think, has to do with the followers because of how much they look up to him and how much they praise him. He feels that he has to do something befitting of that. You know, he's one of the supreme beings, so he can't let them down, because if he ever lets them down and they ever find out that he's like really human to begin with, they might turn on him or something. I don't know. So he always has that kind of fear in the back of his mind as well.
That's the dilemma that tyrannical leaders face.
But
sometimes they just have to do bad shit because that's where their legitimacy comes from. And if they don't, they're going to get eaten alive, you know, by the people who give them legitimacy.
like one of the funnier things that I've wondered about this show, just, and this isn't like quite like a fan theory or anything, but it was just kind of like I wondered as I was watching it, is like I almost kind of wonder if the guild isn't as so like we know the explanation is that they were NPCs that became sentient, right? And they like they're one of their original creators, the only one who stuck around, the only one they got, kind of a thing. But I was always kind of like, you know, why, as the leader, does that like weird emotional thing happen to him? Like I'd almost ask myself, wouldn't it be kind of funny if like the rest of the guild was basically in on some kind of a, like they know he's being like forced into this role, so that kind of a weird thing. I can't really begin to explain it, but like it almost, it seems like at times they're almost like falsely dialoguing because, you know, that's what they should be saying, and they're just trying to like force this guy to play this role that they kind of know he's not fit for. Is like the feeling I get while watching it sometimes. Yeah. And then like the emotional stuff happens, and it's like, okay, there's something there. I'm not sure what. I want that explanation now.
I think that's like, because it didn't really live up to the potential of its premise is probably why I stopped watching it. Because like the premise is really neat, that like the characters that I wrote came to life, and you know, it could then say something about like the nature of fantasy. But instead it seemed to just be kind of like a launch pad for a straightforward fantasy anime.
But the other thing that I find a little more interesting now like the first season was good. Second season kind of boring, I would say. The third season, and I've also started to notice is that the FPC characters are actually starting to change, and you can see that with I think Mare, the boy that's dressed as a girl, the elf. Um, he seems to be moving more towards being a faithful follower of a Momonga instead of whoever his creator was.
Hmm.
And you could kind of see them more and more changing towards their dependency on him rather than on their original supreme creator. While they still like get happy and covet the things that their creators made and stuff, but they seem to be changing their own um, affiliation towards him since he's the one that actually stayed with them, and they
Like
feel that
I
he's
don't
the one
know.
that really cares for them.
One of the weird things that I picked up on that I don't know if it's going anywhere or like why they're otherwise wasting the dialogue on feeding the audience is as he's like as Ainz is setting plans into motion, or mostly just doing whatever, and then having to kind of come up with an explanation that his followers will accept. He starts wondering through various points throughout the show if some things that are, I guess, working against him or maybe more complicated from him was like a plan from Demiurgus or whatever, because like that's his kind of like lieutenant at this point. I would kind of say. I mean, it's really Albedo who's like the second in command of this whole of Nazarick. But like when it ever comes to strategy, Ainz really relies on him a lot for like a bunch of stuff, and then kind of has to bull BS explanations. But like there's a lot where you know he would have to go like because he didn't want to BS his own explanation. He's like, you let me see how much you have inferred of my plan. Tell me why you think that I'm doing this, kind of a thing. And he's like really worried, like if Demiurgus is like has subplots that he's not aware of or something. So I'm like, what's going on here? Like, why is he investing this much time in it? Like what is the point of asking the audience this? Because it's like either there's nothing there and you're just kind of wasting the dialogue, or you're foreshadowing something that I don't know, because like it kind of goes against of like what the initial like plot is supposed to be about him like being the head honcho. I'm just not sure with why they're doing it at this time. Of course, once I see the show all the way through, then I'll know.
What you're watching, Sean, was one of the I think pretty good episodes. But yeah, I was actually kind of disappointed with the last episode. I would have to say.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know why I was expecting more from the PvP, but it of course ended open. There's still more content to be seen, so obviously we're going to get like a season 4 sometime soon. But it's I like how they're finally starting to move and fight, and you might see a conclusion come soon within the next season. I think maybe, or
Perhaps.
it's been a fun ride, but um, yeah, it third season definitely brought it back. Like a lot of people complained about the second season, probably quit at the beginning of it, but the third season definitely brought back what I liked about it. So
Okay, I just can't help but notice that like Sean is dancing around that YouTube video he has, and it's kind of bad how the episode's called like a handful of hope, and it's like paused on this thing where he's like holding this guy's head.
A handful of hope. I do this all day. I'm making my own anime.
what's the next title? What do we have? So we did Attack on Titan. We did that. Grand Blue. Is there anything you want to talk about, Nick?
I'm pulling up the list here. Since someone keeps playing around with the fonts, I actually have to look. Uh, um,
Oh, everything. What the?
see, well, Sean keeps playing around with the list.
I'm gonna have to make a dummy list for Sean.
Um, since I talked about it already, I don't mind throwing in a second following up for the Holmes one that I watched, the Kyoto
Oh,
Holmes.
I actually tried watching that after you talked about it at the beginning, and
Mhm.
yeah, I ended up dropping it. Oh, wait. What about this one? Let's talk about this real
Sure, you could
quick.
do that one first, but I would still like that one.
Because you told me about the Blu-ray of this. Ya na kano sare nagare opansu misete moraitai, whatever.
Yeah, I was like at the last hangout, I was like, hey, the Blu-ray for that one's done. So like instead of it just being like a Japanese YouTube thing, the Nico Nico, it's now technically available to the masses, kind of, because like it doesn't have like probably an English licensing port yet, or probably never will, but just having the Blu-ray out makes it a little more accessible to the masses technically.
You should watch this, Sean. It's just short. That's only 6 episodes long, so you should be able to get through it.
What
Jesus
is it?
Christ.
It's
Just tell them
let
the
me
name
see
of the
your.
show.
I think it's like the translations. Let me see your panties while you look down on me. Something like that.
No, that's like a really. That's not like the one-to-one translation. Do you have it in here somewhere or no? Here, I can find it.
On Crunchyroll or Amazon?
Uh,
Hang on, I'm pulling it up.
there it
So
is.
I found it already too. So yes, the what it's going to be called in English, the alternative synonym title is "I want you to make a disgusted face and show me your underwear." That is the name of this show.
All right, well, it's not on Crunchyroll. I'm going to check Amazon. Yeah,
No,
I
it was on,
want.
like I said, it was on Nico Nico, so like on the Japanese sensible YouTube. So it wasn't brought over to anything unless you had a Nico Nico account that you could actually pull up videos on and stuff.
This is
You
what
couldn't
happens when
watch
I
it.
when I search for that on Amazon.
Okay.
I typed in, "I want you to show me your underwear,"
Jesus.
and it gave me what I asked for.
Oh wow. Oh wait, no. Like, did it actually pull up the anime or
Nope.
something else? Okay.
This is almost anime.
So yeah, it's like
I'll
a
just go back to the
5 episode long. What? For it says
Oh,
6, but
6
I've only
episodes.
ever. Yeah. I don't know. Maybe I've only ever known up to 5 to be released on YouTube. Maybe the sixth is part of the Blu-ray.
Great quality anime.
Yeah, but it's like 4 minutes an episode, 6 long. You're like, doing some
Whoa.
math there. It's like one episode.
So in the Google, I typed in "anime I want to," and then it
It
auto completed
completed it.
as
Yeah.
"eat your pancreas."
Oh no, yeah, that's the movie that Aniplex is going to do. It actually
What the fuck?
sounds like a zombie film, but it's about a terminal illness in high school.
Oh, I want to eat your pancreas.
Mhm.
Kimi no suizo o tabetai.
Yeah, I talked about, if you remember, when I was bringing up the movies at the end of the last hangout, that this was in my list of. We don't have any like confirmed showings, but Aniplex brought it up, so I'm guessing Aniplex is going to do it. But
Weird.
yeah, like it totally sounds like the zombie flick, and it's like totally not going to be a zombie flick.
That's not anime.
I know, you totally skip by the trail. I'm like, what is he pulling up? But
What was the other show you were talking about? I forgot already now.
which other one?
That you wanted to talk
The
about.
underwear
Oh,
one?
no, that's not the one I wanted to talk about. That's him. That's Kyoto Holmes. Want me to
Oh yeah.
find it on the list?
I'm trying to look for the title card for it so I can make it official. Oh, there it is. Yeah, okay, there we go.
So it's like
So,
high
like-
school boy meets girl anime number 1,000,000 bajillion.
Well,
Just like every other
it's
anime
actually
movie
kind
now.
of different, and now that I know more about it, that's kind of why I wanted to talk about it. At first, it seemed like not to give it the same greatness, but like it seemed kind of like the next coming of Hyoko, right? We have this guy, he can like instantly kind of look at a scenario, mysteries are presented to him, and he
Okay.
can kind of solve it just on asking a few details. Once he knows a few details, he can pretty much piece it together.
You talking about
And-
Kyoto Homes or
Yeah.
just, okay. I'm not talking
Kyoto
about Pancreas.
Kyoto Homes.
Okay.
So as I watched it, that's kind of what it seemed like it'd be doing. You know, a lot of the stuff was like character backgrounds and relations that he was doing. But what kind of made this anime a little bit more unique is that while he did graduate from like what's that prestigious university, something
Tokyo University.
yeah, sure, we'll go with that. I don't know if it was Todai or like he got like he graduated from a prestigious university, enough said.
Okay.
And he is basically an appraiser. So you know, you bring an old antique to him and you ask, you know, what's its worth, and he is an appraiser. He can kind of place pieces. He knows a lot about the history. And in the first episode, the other protagonist of the show, Aoi Mashiro, was bringing him an item to which to have appraised, and probably in hopes of selling. Who knows? But I'm just going to leave some obscurity out here. So like, what happened in the rest of the show outside of that is quite interesting because I didn't really see it coming. There's actually an individual who couldn't really fit into society, who was really good at not making replicas, but making original art like the artist would. So he was kind of good at, you know, basically making forgeries, but he would go kind of a little bit beyond that and get into like almost the mindset of the artists themselves to make a really convincing piece. And what we started to see happen is alongside all the you know, various people seeking out an appraisal or an answer to some kind of drama-filled story with a, you know, mystery element from Kyoto, from our protagonist, Kiyotaka Yagashira, but, you know, Kiyotaka is what I will be calling him. He kind of has to pick out these really good replicas made by Ensho, the guy I just told you about prior, who would, you know, make replicas of these antique pieces. And the two kind of developed a rivalry throughout the show, whereas Ensho would appear in dramatic ways, somewhat linked to whatever the story would be doing, presenting more counterfeit pieces alongside normal pieces, and having Kiyotaka kind of pick out the forgeries. And you know, they kind of had like I said, a rivalry that formed. And along the way, he was kind of training that other protagonist, Aoi Mashiro, in the way of appraising. You know, giving her a lot of history about a lot of antiques from Japan. Now, this is one of the things that I'm not a huge antique collector, so I don't know if they talked about a lot of, you know, like really historic pieces of Japan in ways that like an appraiser would. But it didn't like so I don't know like how much homework there did is all I'm saying here. I don't know like if they actually had an appraiser on staff who would give them a lot of dialogue and things to say about the pieces and make a convincing, you know, here's how you spot the forgery story. I'm not sure how well they did because I'm not an appraiser and I don't know a lot of Japanese historic pieces, like, you know, like old tea dishes made years and years ago kind of stuff. But I can honestly say that I didn't really see a lot of anime like that kind of form where it gets really vested in, you know, being basically in a like a Hyoka appraising hybrid show. So, I mean, I know it was set in an antique shop. I guess I should have seen that much coming. I just didn't know how much an appraising the show was going to be about. Now, like I said, it was about half appraising Japanese artifacts and half going over Ensho showing up and, you know, displaying his, we're just going to call them forgeries, and having Kiyotaka be able to pick out the forgery successfully amongst the other, you know, actual legitimate products, and you know, kind of murder mystery stuff, except not really murder mystery, but kind of just essentially like you have a murder mystery approach to explain the events that happened in this. Like, did this person do this thing they said they didn't? And I don't necessarily mean murder; it could be anything, but yeah. So it was really a mixed bag of a couple different like premise points, but well, not the greatest around. It actually did kind of surprise me, and it's not that its dialogue was as sharp as I would have thought it'd be based on the first episode. It really led me to believe that it was, going to have like a lot of quips and a lot of really good. He could just like kind of instantly anime define people, like, oh well, you have this usual thing about like almost like a Holmes fashion where based upon this, this, and this, I've concluded that is kind of like what the first episode led me to believe was going to be heavily prevalent throughout the whole show. And while it is there, it really took its time going into other stories as well, and not just being about the dialogue quips. So,
What's that PBS show where people take their like junk to get appraised, and then sometimes it's worth a ton of money, and then the value is like scrolled across the screen with a treasure box and the glitters.
I know what you're talking about, but I don't know what it's called.
I used to watch a lot of that.
Road Time Showcase.
Yeah.
And like the funny thing is, this one usually wouldn't appraise it like at a monetary value. Like they'll just say like usually the worth of the piece or what, like, because they phrase it as like what's the most expensive piece here instead of like asserting that you put like a dollar value on it. So it was more picking out more historic or more impactful pieces to Japan's history, more so than just going, it's worth this much, period.
Antiques Roadshow, that's what it's called.
Yeah, that's a little bit at play here. There's some other stuff going on, but I can't say I've known anime to get into that premise too commonly, so I was kind of surprised by it. It was, I think, one of the first I've personally checked out. Unless you guys know of a different appraising show that existed before. I personally don't. And I'm not saying it's like the de facto appraising show, but...
It may as well be.
So I wanted to give it a little more merit than I first did, and not that I'm saying go watch it, but like there was more to it than I first thought there would be in the first episode, and like it took its time doing the appraising, doing the Hyoka-esque ability to deduce what happened based on a few facts, and kind of explained why he was able to come up to that conclusion based on what he saw, and the whole like forgery guy stuff.
I want to see the end of one of those episodes where his deducing falsely accused someone and he went to jail for a few years under false pretenses. Later on, he gets out and has a vendetta against him.
I'd watch it. Well, I gotta go in like 10 minutes, but
I think we're pretty much done with all the titles, actually. I'm surprised we didn't have any bacon anime shows.
I guess I can talk a little bit about Sirius the Jaeger, because I only saw one episode like in the last months ago hangout, but actually like one day I was bored, so I watched like up to episode 6 or something like that. And I guess I'll say that like it's a perfectly acceptable action anime, but I wish it tried to be a little bit more than that. Because it just seems to lack that spark or that extra oomph, to make it exceptional. Instead, it's just like perfectly acceptable characters with perfectly acceptable character backstories. Like the main character is a vampire hunter, but his brother was taken by the vampires, and now he's a vampire. And is he going to slay his brother? Stay tuned. And and there's like a big train robbery scene that it seems like there's been a lot of train robberies in anime lately. There's one in Violet Evergarden where they had to like defuse the bombs from the train or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's like it has some pretty decent action scenes, and it's never that boring, but it never excels. And you know, through some combination of just like lack of imagination or bad luck, it's too similar to a bunch of other things I've also seen. Like, you know, moments of it remind me of Violet Evergarden. Moments of it remind me of that steampunk princess show, Princess Principal, that
Oh yeah.
they're gonna make more of.
Oh geez, really?
So Sirius the Jaeger feels like it's in between a bunch of things that I've also seen, and then like my memories of that just sort of get jumbled up with my memories of other things. So it suffers from a lack of distinctiveness.
So if you think someone started with this show, it would be way better.
Yeah,
Better
like
than all that
if you
stuff out
haven't if you haven't seen the other shows that are a lot like it, then then this thing is perfectly okay. The action scenes are decent or good actually. But yeah, I don't know. I guess I'm just too jaded to enjoy it. Like I want to see something like cool and different, and this is not that. I want to see Mob Psycho 100 season 2, but that's not until next season. Just to say 2019.
Mob Psycho, I forgot about that guy. Have you seen the live action of that?
No.
I watched like 5 minutes of it just to see, and I was like, nope.
I think I've got a little further. Eventually, I got to the nope moment too.
Yeah, I mean, I watched it up through like the first exorcism in the parking lot. I'm like, okay, the anime is way cooler than this thing.
I got to when he met that green guy that was part of the smiley face people.
Oh yeah.
I imagine they did some kind of Ghostbuster effect with it, but
yeah, it was freaky. All right, so is Albert? Did he say he couldn't make it?
yeah.
Oh, he said, and will now make it.
No.
That's what it says.
Is that what it said?
Got a lot of cleaning up to do and will now make it.
It's probably supposed to be a not. Guessing it's a typo.
But what if he's joining us
He's the
now?
opposite. Albert, you mean what you said or the opposite of what you said? No.
This is so confusing for me. I don't know if we should stay for him or.
Here. Oh wait, Sean might beat me to it.
No, I stopped. You can go ahead.
Oh.
Because if he just got off of camping, he can talk about the camping with Susan, that girl. Where's that title? I finished watching the first season. I was getting ready to start the next parts, and then I was like, whoa, it went from a 3-minute show to a 13-minute show. I need to set more time.
Yeah, I guess we're kind of good calling it, though. I can't say there's anything I legitimately want to give another call out to. I mean, the best I can say, and I haven't finished watching it yet, as to say to its credit, is in that Shisei no Subaru one, the one that I was like that kind of took the plot premise of Anohana. Now with it, are they going to do with it?
Oh, the one about the cars?
Cars, yes. Yeah, and traveling through space and stuff, absolutely. So I don't know if you want to pull up the plot thingy to it or not, or the title card if you have it or not. But all I wanted to say is I haven't finished it yet. It obviously didn't go the route of being a big dramatical piece like Anohana did. It definitely tried to do like an MMOE / like real world implication story. One of the things that I did find interesting, however, was unlike Anohana, the ghost girl in this one can actually talk to everybody, like, like, not just the main protagonist, like kind of what was the plot point of Anohana. A lot of the rest of the group kind of had that moment where they wouldn't believe the guy or didn't know what to do about him being the only one able to interact with her. So it was kind of interesting to see how the characters could more immediately react to their, deceased friend being somehow alive all this time. And it really came up with a weird reason as to why it was that way. Again, I haven't finished it all the way through, but it was kind of interesting to see like that take on it. But it's no, it's not a huge dramatical piece like Anohana, which I knew from the get go. But I was just like, are you going to use this well or not? And one of the things that I wanted to comment on was just that, it was kind of nicer to see the group reacting more dynamically instead of and abruptly too. Like Anohana took forever. Like it wasn't until like the last episode, or like probably episode 9 or so, before everyone like jumped on the bandwagon and started like kind of believing the guy. Um, that pretty much happened in episode like what 1 or 2, and like they spent more time worrying about like how people have drifted it apart right away than they did about, believe me, the ghost girl's alive. So
Okay. Well, that's it for our hangout today. Thank you for joining us. Sean, hopefully you can watch. Well, I think you should be able to watch a good part of the new season, right? Since it's
Nope.
only 3 episodes.
Let me know when there's something actually good. Is there? I don't know. Maybe I'll watch some of that slime one, the Isekai, but I'm a slime.
Yeah, you should also watch that one with the crazy maid
Crazy Maid.
or annoying maid. I can't remember. I just saw it before I joined this hangout, and I was disgusted. I mean, it was great. You should watch it. Um, Other than that, thank you, Nick. Thank you, Sean. Thank you, Kent, and thank you, me, again, for joining us. What is this? Like going on to our 7th year of anime talks. So hopefully you
I believe it.
keep with us on the 7th year. And as we continue to ask ourselves that question, is anime dead yet? You know,
Getting there.
well, it might die off to some people, but I don't think it's a dying industry as of yet myself.
I don't know. But Sean keeps on saying it dies, and then he comes back and
Well, yeah, but now that like Trigger's getting in on what is that, the Patreon stuff, it'll never die. Other studios just have to hop on Patreon if you're actually financially struggling.
so that's it. Thank you guys. Bye.
Bye, see.